What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be learning how you can automatically upload your app to Testflight with CI/CD. We're going to be sticking with codemagic as we have done with previous CI/CD videos on the channel. Before we get started, drop a like down below, hit subscribe if you're new, and let's jump into it. So first things first, I've got quite a few resources open, so let's go through them. So I've got codemagic's dashboard here. You can create a free account. We're going to be using a dummy project called iOS Academy. I've also got Appstore Connect open here, the Apple portal to actually submit to the App Store. You will need a developer account. I've got another page in Appstore Connect open here to generate keys, and we got some documentation as well. On the right hand side, or left I should say, I've got an Xcode project here, which I'll go ahead and run here. It's not all that fancy. All we do is we show a empty view controller with a pink background as soon as it decides to load. And here I've got a empty YAML file. It's called codemagic.yaml YAML. And in here we're going to be writing the script which is going to automate uploading of our app to App Store Connect. So that all said and done and out of the way, let's go through how we're going to do this. Now, we need to do a couple things. First and foremost, I'm going to go ahead and open up Terminal. We're going to stage any changes since we're using Git here. We're going to commit it, and I'm going to call it Fresh Start. I'm going to go ahead and do Git Push, and this way we'll make sure that we're starting off with a clean slate, nothing to commit in here, no project changes, etc., etc. Now we are going to want one project change in here, which is why I did that, and that project change is actually incrementing the build here. So I've previously uploaded build 10, so we're going to want to increment this. We'll make it build 11 perhaps, and that's actually all we need to do in Xcode. So we can close Xcode and the simulator here. The next thing that we're going to want to do is actually put something in this codemagic YAML file, since an empty file isn't going to do too much for us. Now, after having done this a couple times, I'm going to put this link down in the description. The easiest way to go about populating that file is by copying this template, which is fairly verbose, that the documentation offers. Now we're going to be editing the majority of stuff in here, but this is a really good starting off point. So I'm going to copy all of that and toss it in here, and it's quite a bit. So let's edit all of it, and we're going to understand each one piece by piece. So first and foremost, we create a workflow. It's called iOS workflow. We give it a name. Maybe we'll go ahead and call it custom workflow, just like that. Now, environment here allows you to specify environment level variables, things like private keys and certificates, and maybe passwords that you don't want to publicize in your actual code here. Now, we're not going to be using vars or Xcode or CocoaPod. We don't need any of this. We're going to be using an option that's known as groups, and we're going to bring it in here later on, but I'm just going to stub it out here for the time being. Now, this triggering business, we're not going to deal with this either. The next one that we care about to keep is scripts. So we are going to leave scripts in here, and in fact, some of this stuff is already stubbed out for us appropriately. However, I'm going to go ahead and delete this stuff in here as well, since we'll do this ourselves to make sure we understand all of it appropriately. So I'll get rid of that. And we can leave artifacts. Artifacts is basically where our app is going to be dumping its final binary, the thing that actually gets uploaded while it's running the pipeline. And publishing we'll want to come back to as well. So this is our starting off point. You can see we deleted the majority of the stuff, which is what we want to do. So let's jump to the docs and let's talk through what actually needs to happen for us to upload an app to the App Store. Since under the hood, there's quite a few things going on. The very first thing that we need to do is we need to have our application be code signed. That's the process of basically certifying that your app is appropriately being created by the authentic developer. Now, doing this manually is a bit of a process. Doing it through Xcode makes it better, but now doing it through something like CI/CD makes your life a whole lot easier. So what we want to do to actually code sign is generate a couple of keys and bring them into codemagic so we can actually use them in our YAML file here. So basically what the documentation here is saying is to add each of these in the respective slot. Now back here in codemagic, let me just refresh my dashboard. I've already added this iOS Academy client app. We're going to click on settings. You'll see here we don't have a codemagic file. We're going to click on environment variables, and we're going to add a couple environment variables. So the first one that it wants is the Appstore Connect key identifier. Now we need a value here. Now if you had read this, it'll state where to get this from. You can get this from Appstore Connect, users, at users and access and keys, and I've got that link opened up right here. So we're going to come here and we're going to create a new key. This key allows codemagic to more or less access Appstore Connect on your behalf. So I'm going to go ahead and call it codemagic, and we shall drop it on in there, just like that. Maybe we'll call it codemagic-2021. Now they recommend you give app manager access, but just for the sake of this demo, we'll give it admin access, which is not recommended, but we're going to do it here to make sure we don't run into any hiccups. I'm going to go ahead and hit generate. And you're going to see a couple things happen here. First and foremost, we see that there is this new key. So I am going to copy the key ID. Now, before I even do that, I'm going to hit this download API key button here. Now, one thing to importantly note is you can only download this one time. So I've downloaded it right there, and I'm going to drag this onto my desktop on the left-hand side just to keep a note of it. The next thing I want to actually do is copy the pertinent key ID, which is this guy right here where it says copy key ID. We're going to jump back to codemagic, and I'm going to drop it in here as a variable. That's the value. We're going to select a group. By default, this is empty, so I've just added one called admin. It just associates keys with groups. We'll go ahead and keep secure checked and hit add. Now, this process is a little verbose. We need to do this for a few more things, so I'm going to power through it, and hopefully you guys get the gist of what's going on here. So the next one is the Appstore Connect issuer ID. It's important to copy and paste the actual name, since that's what codemagic expects. So the issuer ID, if I can find it, let's see if we can find it. That should be on the same page at the top here. You can go ahead and hit copy, and we're going to jump back to codemagic. Paste it on in, boom, we're going to select a group here, and then we're going to hit add. Believe there are two more, so the next one here is going to be Appstore Connect private key. So this one here, this is the private key downloaded from Appstore Connect. So essentially, this is what we have downloaded and thrown onto our desktop. So we're going to want to open that up. So I'm going to paste this here, just like that. I'm going to right click on this key, and we're going to say open with, and you can open with a text editor. I'm going to open it with Atom. So there is that private key. You absolutely do not want to share this with anybody. In fact, I'm going to be deleting this before uploading the video. So we're going to go ahead and paste that on in there. Boom, select admin and hit add. And finally, one more to go, almost there. The last one that we want to add is the, let's see what it's called, certificate private key. This is something you can generate directly on your machine. So we're going to go ahead and copy the command that they've given here. I'm not going to bother reading that blurb since that's what it's telling us to do. We'll go ahead and copy this, and it's going to dump out two files on our desktop here, probably on the right-hand side. So let me go ahead and open up terminal here. We are going to open a new window, and let me go ahead and CD to my desktop. Gonna go ahead and paste in that command, and it has created these two files here. I'll drag them to the left-hand side so we can visualize them a little better. Now, what we actually need to put into codemagic here is the contents of the private key. So you'll see a .pub variant and one without the .pub, pub for public. We want to open up the one that is not public, aka this one. We're going to copy all the stuff in there, and boom, we'll paste it in here, select admin as a group, and hit add. Now we're almost actually there. This is the hard part. So we're ready to go in terms of the variables that we need for code signing. Now, how do we actually tell in our YAML file codemagic to go ahead and code sign our application? We need to sign it before we can build it and actually submit it or upload it. So you'll see here that we are asked to put a environment with the groups in here and put in the group name that we put all those credentials under. So we had called that group name admin. So I'm going to put a dash space and put in the name of the group, which is admin. You can go ahead and call it whatever group name you gave it in codemagic. The next thing that you actually need to do is use a couple scripts to actually go ahead and code sign your application. So we're going to go ahead and copy all of this, and it's actually mostly correct. We don't need to change much of it. We do need to fix up this indentation here. So let's go through this and make sure it is all correct. So we first need to initialize the keychain, which makes perfect sense. The next thing we want to do is we actually want to go ahead and fetch the signing configuration for iOS Appstore, I believe is the one we are looking for. The development version is going to fetch the certificates for the development scheme, but we actually want to upload. So we're going to do that one there. Finally, this one here actually uses the profile for your Xcode project, and we are good to go. Now we are going to want one more script in here, and that's going to actually build our project. Now, where do we actually get that script? It's going to be in the other section of the documentation under publishing. We'll go there. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to click on publishing and deployment. And on the right-hand side, there's a couple options here. The one that we're dealing with is not Android. We're going to click on Appstore Connect. And right in here, it's going to give us some information in terms of what needs to go on for us to actually go ahead and publish. So let's go ahead and we can grab under everything from publishing all the way down. We can grab all of this actually, and we'll just delete the stuff that we don't need. So we've actually got publishing here already. I'm going to hit tab and hit paste, Command V, just like that. Now we're not going to be submitting to Testflight. We can remove it, and we don't want beta groups either. We can remove that as well. And now you're going to see we have all these things here like issuer ID, key ID. Now where the heck do we get all this from? Hopefully this stuff looks familiar. This is all of the pieces of information that we had brought into codemagic. So I'm going to delete all of the comments here, and we're going to go ahead and bring everything in piece by piece. So let's see how we're going to go about doing this. Let's go back to codemagic here. Let me expand my browser, and we can more or less just copy what is supplied here. So the first one that we want to copy is Appstore Connect issuer ID. Let's go with this one first. So we're going to put a $sign here. We'll go ahead and paste that on in. Next one we want is the key identifier, which I believe is the bottommost. Yep, we're going to copy that. We're going to paste that on right here. And finally, this one up here is our actual API key. So let's go ahead and find that. So there's Appstore Connect. This is the key identifier. There is the actual private key, and then there's a certificate private key. Presumably, we want this one here. We'll find out if we're wrong momentarily. And let's go ahead and paste that on in. Appstore Connect private key should be good to go. Now we're still missing one step in here, and this step is going to be to actually build the project. So to actually build the project, what we want to go ahead and do is find that relevant command. And I know it's somewhere here in the documentation, so let's go ahead and give it a find. I believe we're going to find it under the Quick Start Guide. So we're going to open this up. We're going to look for building a native iOS app, and we're going to scroll down here until we find the relevant script. So building an unsigned native iOS app. That isn't exactly what we want, so this one's building it. Let's look on the right-hand side for the outline of this page. So we want to build a native app archive. Let's go ahead and see this one here. And we're seeing a script in here. It is Xcode project, build IPA, and then we can specify the project and the schema like so. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to copy this, but we want to copy it for a workspace. So let's go ahead and copy this whole thing just like that. We're going to go ahead and add a script name here. So we're going to say name is build app. We're going to go ahead and toss that there. And then we're going to add a script, and we're going to paste on in what we have here, which is Xcode project, build IPA, which is the format of a iOS app. The workspace in our project is called IA, capital I, capital A, and the scheme is also IA. Generally, this is going to be the same for your project, the workspace, and the scheme that you want to go ahead and build. And in fact, I believe this does it. This is all that we need to do to get this up and running. So what we want to do now is we actually want to stage this via source control. So we're going to say git add codemagic. And let's go ahead and try that one more time. We need to actually cd into our project. Now we're going to say git add codemagic. If we do a git status, we'll see we have some other changes as well. So we're just going to git add everything since we had bumped the build version. I'm going to commit this and say support CI/CD. We're going to push up our changes and we're going to try to give this a run in codemagic. So let's go to our codemagic dashboard here. We still don't see our codemagic file reflected, but once I refresh the page, you'll see it here. And it looks like we have an issue. So let's see what the problem is. So it says which scanning a simple key. Let's see what part of this is not happy. So we have Appstore Connect fetch signing. Looks like something is wrong there. So we're going to come back here and see which thing we need to take care of. I will adjust it as needed. All right, so it looks like this one is the problem here for Appstore Connect fetch signing. This is the one it's not happy with. So let's see why that is, and we can adjust it as needed. So it looks like we also do need to update two things I forgot here. So first and foremost, we can actually bring this up here onto this line, and we do need to update the bundle ID of our app. So where do we get this from? We can get it from either the Apple developer portal, or we can open up the project in Xcode and we can grab it from there. So I'm gonna opt to open it up in Xcode so y'all can see me grab it and copy and paste it on in. So let me close up Finder here. We should have Xcode open momentarily. Xcode 13 launches today actually, so it's a little slow, so bear with my Xcode here, but hopefully we'll get it opened up in a second. Let's see what this error is complaining about to make sure we fix it appropriately. All right, so let's see what the problem is. So we're going to copy the bundle ID right there, and let's go ahead and paste it on in. So this is the script that we are calling Appstore Connect fetch signing files, and we're going to paste in our bundle ID just like that. We've got this backslash for the next line that it is escaping. This is iOS App Store, and the create flag basically tells the command to create the signing certificate if needed. So we're going to go ahead and we are simply going to call the same command again. So we'll say git add, and then we're going to say git commit and push. So I'll just do recall there. We're going to go ahead and refresh this and hope that our file is correct. All right, so looks like we don't have an error in here now. Otherwise, we would see that red obnoxious box. Let's go ahead and give our pipeline a run. Like I said, I've got Appstore Connect opened up here. If I jump into Testflight, you'll see, I believe the latest build that we have uploaded here is version 10. So we should, after running it, see version 11. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Start New Build. We're going to select a workflow, which is custom workflow. It's what we have called it. We're going to go ahead and give this a run. Now, fair warning, giving this a run, or pipelines in general, sometimes take anywhere between 2 to 5-10 minutes, depending how big your project is. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a pause here, and we'll come back once this has succeeded. All right, so it looks like our pipeline here has succeeded. I had to go ahead and start it over again since it failed on an internet connection issue, but same pipeline, went ahead and gave it a run. Let's go ahead and jump into Appstore Connect, and if I refresh the page here, we should see build number 11. with perhaps processing as a indicator as well, since it was just uploaded, and there it is. So that's how you can go ahead and upload your build to Testflight Appstore Connect with CI/CD, specifically codemagic. Now the really cool thing about this is you can go ahead and extend your pipeline to do a bunch of things like testing, validation. You can also go ahead and submit for Testflight internal review to distribute your Testflight build, so on and so forth. So CI/CD, definitely a great way to automate and make your life a whole lot easier. So that's all I've got for you guys today. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like down below, hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. Of course, I'll be putting all of the documentation links that we used here in the video description for your guys' reference. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next one.